Are we missing anyone yet? No, okay, we're good. All right, so I gather you got an introduction to the site, so Jack was here with the field school here in 2004 when they were still excavating the north and south sides, both, right? Yes. And one of the Kenyan helpers named Hillary, Saleh, and he, I don't know what the story was exactly. He came around the gullies here. Okay. That's better than usually what you hear in these kind of fossil discoveries is they went on the gully to the other gully to use the bathroom. They find a fossil. But he was just coming back along this way and found a hand bone right on the surface, right about here, somewhere between where Connor is and where the group of people was. He found a little hand bone and recognized that it was a hominid hand bone, and it turned out to be the third right metacarpal. And that caused a lot of excitement, so a lot of folks came over and ended up finding a piece of the humerus, a piece of the scapula, a piece of an ulna, and a couple more hand bones. So that's remarkably good, and it's most fossils, as you probably already started to see, most fossils are isolated and fragmentary. The vast majority of them are. So to find something that's associated is remarkably rare. Jack and Emma were kind enough to invite me out the next year, and the next season we had another go at looking for more, and we were very fortunate. We ended up finding even more hand bones, including the thumb, and a lot of the stuff was initially found on the surface, but then what we started doing is excavating down in here. You can see where the big hole is right here, right? What we started doing was excavating the secondarily eroded sands from above there. So even though things were found on the surface, we suspected that some things might have eroded out earlier and gotten reburied. So we started digging just from where Connor is all the way over. You can see sort of this, we actually dug all the way out to here and around. It was in that field season, I think, 2005, that we found, like this deep in this secondary eroded sand, we found a bone that at first someone thought was a crocodile humerus, and it fit on the 47,000 humerus, so it was actually the piece. So, in other words, the distal end of the humerus was found on the surface, and years earlier, a more proximal segment of it had eroded out, rolled down the hill, and gotten reburied. So that led us to continue trying to excavate down here. And we may do a little of that this season, not very much because you can see we've done a very, very large area. But we have found several fragments with this effort, including a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we found a trapezium that goes to the base of the thumb. The wrist bones are pretty rare. They're rare in the fossil record, most likely because people just can't identify them. They look like little rocks. So in fact, sure enough, we ended up finding the trapezium when we were back in base camp in one of the level bags. So someone did recognize that it was bone, but didn't recognize that it was a hominid. It's a particularly important specimen because the Homo habilis hand, the type specimen, OH7, one of the key hand bone that they found, one of the key hand bones they found was the trapezium, that thumb bone. And it was part of the basis for arguing that it's a handy hand, Homo habilis. So anyway, we've continued this effort then, and it's been over the years we've been finding fewer and fewer fragments, but actually just when you guys came to the hill and started talking, Dave Green found a little fragment about this big, and it looks like it's a piece of the ulna. So it's only this piece, but the ulna right now is about this long, maybe this long, and there's a little piece at the end, and we're missing a fragment that's either this long or this long. And however long it is, if it ends up being a very long fragment, that's interesting. This would be a really primitive looking forearm. If it's this long, it's a very derived looking forearm, so we'd like to find the piece that connects the ends. You've already heard about the sort of overall nature of that 47,000 arm. It's very primitive in most respects. It's really robust humerus and a really gracile thumb. It looks a lot like what you see 3.5 million years ago in Australopithecus afarensis, despite it being only 1.5 million years old, with the exception of just a couple traits. There's one trait with the scapulates more derived. So it was in 2005 geological trench that was dug just to the south, this direction is south, this direction is north. So just to the south, you can see the geological trench, which has been greatly expanded because we actually tried to find if any of the hominin arm and the rest of the skeleton was in the ground somewhere, in situ. And so you can see we dug out a big hole right above where the highest specimen was found. That's also part of the reason that we so carefully document where we find every fragment. Anything we find on surface or in situ, like these flags are, it might not be recognizable now, but if one of these fragments fits onto the hominin, and then someone asks you where did it come from, you're like, oh, I don't know. You know, that's it. That's not a good answer. So we want to be able to document where it come from. So we went to where the highest specimen had been found, and we started digging from that point up and out. And over the period of several years of digging in there, we did find just a few bones in situ, but there wasn't any concentration, and none of them belonged to the hominin. So we're not optimistic at this point that we'll find any more of the hominin in situ. It looks like much of the arm had already eroded out, but there still may be some down here.